your step 2 or 3? Will you cross that bridge when you come to it? Let's take another question here.
What is the reason for lack of stability in Karnataka politics? It might be in terms of frequent political defections, the evident corruption, or electoral malfunctions. It can be anything. Can we see any improvement in 2013 elections?
Stanley and Trilochan, if you want to take that. You're taking on a politics that's still essentially driven by the mathematics of caste. How are you going to take it on?
Well, do the math, Barka.
Yeah.
This whole business of caste politics and so on really has to do with the local Bangalorean, the old entrenched several generations Bangaloreans, which was only 1 million. The 12 million is people from all over the country that have come here to a very large extent. They don't have roots here. They don't have a sense of what the local politics was about. A lot of them don't vote because they don't feel committed to this place. They don't belong to this place. They are strangers, immigrants, call them what you like.
But that could be called a dangerous outsider versus insider argument.
Could be. But what we are therefore trying to do is to remind them, this is home. What happens here does matter to you and will matter to you. Get your act together. Come in together. And when you say, why don't we go to others apart from the upper middle?
Yeah.
Quite honestly, it has to do with time. It has to do with space. It has to do with stamina. It has to be... She still has a company to run. All of us have something else.
That's why, Kiran, you should just leave Biocon now to run itself and contest an election.
No. We want Biocon. We want Biocon to be there until they find an oral thing to the kind of problem that I have.
Okay.
Right now, we're going to take injections.
Trilochan. The question there is, it has a deeper subtext, and the subtext is, we love your initiative, but how is it going to change the outcome of the election?
Now, I would like to speak about Karnataka rather than about a particular organization in a particular city, because I think the elections are far more than whatever initiatives we are talking about. And the central question was about instability. At the root cause of it is, how do I win an election? Because it is fair for a candidate to want to win elections. And in the competitive politics that is playing out, money is very important in winning elections. Whether it is really true or not, that's how it is playing out. Now, when money becomes the currency of power, and we have a group in Ballari, we have groups in Shimoga, we have groups in other parts of the state, they have amassed huge amounts of wealth. And if they are unhappy, they can completely topple the government. I am not convinced that in 2013 we will have stable politics, but at some point we will get it. But it's not going to happen in the near future.
Okay, so it's a long haul battle. Let's take a question.
Yeah. Is the initiative communicating with the political parties? Would it be a better and a faster part to change? Fund non-winnable candidates.
Barka.
Could it be that way?
Non-winnable candidates.
Barka,
How do you get around the fact that sometimes the not clean guy, Mohan, is the guy who wins?
Yeah, Barka, we have gone and met all political parties, and we told them we have an agenda for Bangalore. Please put it into a manifesto, and everybody is interested to put in a manifesto because it's a very inclusive, development-oriented agenda. Political leaders want our support. They're writing to us and seeking our support because they understood, like Stanley said, 1 million new people have enrolled. And if these people come and vote, it's going to swing. And as far as candidates, one of the conditions is the candidate going to win. Now, if you meet all the criteria, but you don't have support, if you come and say, I'm going to stand for election, we are not going to endorse you. There is no point wasting our investment on you. We want people who have a winnable and who meet all these criteria.
But Rajiv, someone like you is actually standing at the cusp of, you have a political affiliation. Now, which is different from BPAC, which is saying we will choose candidates irrespective of parties. Now, what stops somebody like you from jumping in? You've spoken about how you could not even get a ticket even if you wanted to contest. Somebody like yourself was ready to do it.
I'm sure I'll get one very soon. But no, because people are looking
But
for...
would you have the funds to contest an election?
I think BPAC is one of the groups, and then the citizens.
Yeah.
But the other nice thing is social media and other methods allow us to change the economics of politics.
Yeah.
See, the electoral funding, the costs of keeping a political career alive, are the root cause of corruption in India. If we can address that, then this whole edifice of corruption can fall down. Even the poor will benefit from this action because they are the ones who suffer from misgovernance, right? If public services improve, if governance improves, essentially everyone will benefit.
Now, clean funding is like, apple pie. Like, it sounds beautiful, but what is clean funding? I want to ask Raghu and Rohini about that. Let's take a question.
Yeah. What is the criteria in selecting your candidates? 1. Number 2, if you select a candidate, are you willing to let him do what the other politicians are doing? Because in this particular game, all is fair in love and war.
In this forthcoming elections, we are trying to basically give people an idea of who we think are decent candidates. Okay, so we are not saying, I mean, in each constituency we might have more than 2 or 3 candidates. So we are saying these are the people who we think can actually, deliver a better governance for the city. But suppose you find the candidate you've chosen, that's what he's saying. Yes. You pick a candidate. Yes. Along the way you discover that candidate is actually just like everybody else. So there will be a disclaimer. This is to the best of our knowledge, okay? And this is a first time exercise, so we cannot guarantee anything, okay? But we are going to give it our shot saying, Rajiv Gowda we think is a good candidate because of this reason what I just mentioned earlier. Now, Rajiv Gowda hopefully will deliver on what we think he can deliver. If he doesn't, I talked about the report card. Rohini and then I'll come to Stanley and then Manisha.
I hope that the auditing process, that the metric is co-created, because what your constituents, what voters want from politicians and what the constitution envisages a political role to be are already there's a gap. So even if you say that this is a good guy or woman is not necessarily going to be able to deliver good governance. So that metric, how you do that will be very important.
Well, one of the strategies, Rohini, one of the strategies that we have at BPAC is to engage with experts. We want experts to engage with the political system because only then can you actually deliver.
Small point, Barka, eternal vigilance is the price of liberty. Everybody in this room has to be vigilant and to expose people and to demand performance. It's not going to work. If few of us do, and all of you sit in judgment. Are you going to fail? Very good. You're failing. It's not going to work.
Yeah, that's absolutely fair, Manisha. Wouldn't you accept that?
We have to find a solution to this problem of corruption in politics, of choosing right candidates. We have to fall back upon our democratic ideals. The leadership has to come from beneath. It cannot be chosen and put and say, this is a good guy, let's all vote for him. It cannot be that way. The leadership has to evolve by itself. And for that to happen, we have to build structures in place.
So how to build institutions is what you're saying. Yes.
I have felt disenfranchised in the last 4 elections that I've voted because I really felt that my vote had no meaning. When I heard about the BPAC, I felt that Bangalore has the unique opportunity with 40% of urban educated people to actually give me a voice.
So you're feeling more engaged.
I'm feeling much more engaged and enfranchised.
Our primary objective, Barka, is to get past the apathy barrier. Now, what we have is a democracy and we have the problems of democracy. It's the worst form of government except for all the others that have been tried, as Churchill said. It's not going to happen overnight. If this was China, we'd say do that or bang.
But thankfully we are not China.
Thankfully we are not. But we pay the price, we need time.
Okay, I've got to take a break. I'll take one last comment.
Hi, I would like to know what you're doing to mobilize people to get out and vote, and how would you define your success?
Mohan?
How do you define a success? 1, if you get a percentage of voting higher than what happened in the past. 2, if the candidates that we endorse come out ahead. And 3, if you find the level of engagement from citizens continuing after the elections for the council election. The real battle will be the battle for Bangalore in the city council elections because there are 200 wards. Each ward has only 30,000 voters, and if we have 100 new candidates come up who are independents who build grassroots politics and come up the level, we would have succeeded.
Okay, I'm going to take a break. When we come back, final comments from our panel. Are you committed? Is VPAC committed to the long haul? What are some of the changes, small changes that citizens can make? Why do citizens, especially the middle class, always disassociate themselves from politics, from the political system, and yet pass judgment on it? We'll take a few more audience questions and last comments from our panel when we come back after a short break. Welcome back. You're watching We the People, coming to you from Bangalore, where a citizens group has come together to form a political action committee. Can it be a template for citizens' engagement across the country, or are they being over-hopeful about their power to change? Before we go back to the panel for last comments, let's take some questions from the audience. Yes.
I just wanted to know if there's any idea of actually, monitoring the election process itself, because that's an important aspect of, better governance and things like that.
Trilochan, you wanted to come in there,
Our work is exactly on that. We've been monitoring the election process. We have already held 2 press conferences. We are working with a network of NGOs in every district of Karnataka. We are carrying out this Abhiyan Namma Vote Maratha Killa, we are not going to sell our vote. We are going to the TV channels, the Election Commission, etc. And, we are working in the complementary space, which is the rural voter who votes but votes on very other considerations, and we are trying to say that please don't do such a thing. And we are also monitoring the election expenses, and this time we are prepared to go to court if we get evidence, and we invite all of you. We have developed a software tool. If you find any wrong thing going on anywhere in the election, you can upload that. We will go after the election commission. If they don't do anything, we are going to go to the High Court.
That's a really
We are
interesting thing.
convinced that unless some elections are set aside for bribing of voters, things are not going to change.
Very interesting point about technology. I mean, I think that's a really important point, and the onus falling on people also, which what Mohan was saying, to participate. If you see something, speak up, participate. Let's take a question.
I belong to CV Raman Nagar, and we have 2 constituencies next by. Both the legislatures are visible. They come and contribute, and they have changed the face of the entire place in the last 4 years. Can we the people can have right to access to the BPAC to recommend such candidates?
By all means, because when we are trying to evaluate people, this is the kind of feedback we want, which is very valuable.
Okay.
None of the political parties have got a good name now, no reputation. So in spite of that bad reputation, if you fund them, I think it is going to be wasted. Why don't you start something new party, and at least even though you win 2 or 3 seats, so that is going to be something great. Because earlier the BJP started like that only 20 years back.
Let me take that as Stanley.
I don't think they could take my temperament in the house.
But more seriously, his question, where do you find...
There are good politicians, there are good people in various parties, there are good candidates. We can endorse them at the moment. It's not necessary for us to start a party and actually make the voices heard and hold our representatives accountable. I always say, I complain because I vote. And I think the process starts with all of you all coming and engaging yourselves with us.
Raji.
They need to identify candidates way ahead of time. Look for people who are doing good public service. Look for people who are clean, have potential, and help them become much more prominent. Because ultimately, you need to be known and visible amongst voters before even a party says this is a credible candidate.
Raghu's wanted to come in.
The other point is that, you see, it's too short term now, but I think they should get into candidate nurturing. In the sense that you begin to identify people 3 years in advance and build the skills in them, and for that you have to have a close and non-combative engagement with political parties.
Mohan, can I take one question in and then you can come?
You mentioned about Obama. Now, in United States, whenever an election happens, you see engagement from all walks of life. Academics get into it, newspapers get into it, media people get into it. But in India, it's politicians goes on a campaign, they just go by themselves. So, can you convince other people from other walks of life, not just the upper middle class, to get engaged into it, the 4th estate and everyone?
Mohan.
But I won't take on Raji's idea. We are talking to RK Mishra about starting a political incubator at the local level, not the MLA election, at the council election. Because the real work in the city is done in the city council. And as far as getting everybody to vote, my friend, I won't tell you once again, you have to do it, not us. You. Don't pass the buck to us. You stand up, you march in the street, you go and vote.
Yeah, I will vote. I'm asking, are you convincing the other parts? I'm already convinced.
You please come and convince others. Please join us and convince others. Don't pass the burden to us.
Okay, fair enough. Question here.
Okay, why is the report card for the state level government, whose job is purely policy making, the real funds materialize at the BBMP level? So you should have a report card for the BBMP and for the corporators at the BBMP level.
Remember, we have BPAC. It's for Bangalore, and our ultimate goal, as Mohan said, is at the councillor level. Right now we are talking about the MLA elections because that's what is immediate.
Because that's what's happening right now. Fair enough. Let's take a question.
On an everyday basis, what we have to deal with are the bureaucrats. We deal with the legislators, say, once in 5 years. How can BPAC ensure that we get what we want?
Raghu, do you want to take that as the bureaucrat on this panel? You're the root of the problem, says she.
I know. I think the whole point is that you must have enlightened political leadership. Do not depend upon bureaucrats to provide governance in the absence of enlightened political leadership. Let me just put one simple thing before you. Bureaucrats love to say that they can govern better if politicians were not there to mess up things. Why doesn't states improve during president's rule when bureaucrats do have the feel? In Punjab and J&K have had president's rule for ages. governance doesn't improve. And I
Can
think
we
that's-
quickly
We
start
strongly
ending now.
believe that political leadership has to be accountable to the people.
Yeah.
The people have to be there for them to be accountable to. Our problem has been that the people are not there. They're busy doing other things.
Yeah.
That's
So the
starting
onus is
point.
also on the people. Manish, I'm going to take a last comment from you for the last question.
Yeah, I want to ask, someone just said about money is the currency to power. So how is BPAC going to keep itself away from it, hopefully? And second is, you said you're going to audit your people. So how exactly are you going to audit them when they're already in the session and they're just doing the work?
How are you going to audit? What is the process
First
to
and
audit?
foremost, as I mentioned, the auditing is not going to be done by BPAC. It's going to be a feedback from the people. This is where the citizens' engagement comes in. We will only then collate the information and put it on our website so that it's transparent and all, there for all to see. So I think it's wrong for us. I got a tweet saying, oh, how are you going to solve Bangalore's water crisis? BPAC is not there to solve people's problems or the government's problems.
You're not an alternative municipal corporation.
Please, we are not the alternative municipal
We are here to
corporation.
sensitize you to the fact that there are problems and that you are the solution.
Well said, Manish.
I think an initiative like BPAC can regard itself as successful if it is able to influence political parties to clean up their system.
Pushing large stone to a tall hill.
But you have David Gowda, which I said in the beginning of the show. They're saying that corruption is not an election issue, Manisha.
No, but I think a citizens' initiative has great power, and I think they can sort of
Politician question here?
I agree political funding is good, but there should be a confidentiality in political funding. Otherwise, the many persons, including corporate entities, they will ask favors from political persons. So,
But when you say confidentiality, Raghu, shouldn't there be transparency? I want
In
to
fact, exactly the opposite. In fact, till 1967, corporate funding of political parties was permitted. It was removed by Indira Gandhi because she did not want the Swatantra party to get funding. There has to be macro funding, which is corporates giving money, and micro funding, which is what Gandhi said. And even Jayaprakash Narayan in 1977, when I was a student, it was ek vote, ek note. Contribute to the Janata Party when it was formed. So both, all the three can work.
Quick last word, Rohini, as you welcome the initiative, what would be your larger takeaway?
Yeah, I think BPAC has set itself some very high goals. I think sometimes it will have to manage expectations because everyone wants BPAC to do everything, so they'll have to be careful of that. The middle class has to be aware of the difference between local politics, state politics and national politics. And the role of voters, we'll all have to be patient as voters. Because I voted just now, it doesn't mean I get good governance in return. As I said, there is a danger of the middle class saying, now we are big, so we want this. But we have to keep it inclusive because that's the danger in India.
Very briefly, Kiran, on that, what are you apprehensive about as you start this new initiative? What do you think you should be careful about?
I'm absolutely in agreement with Rohini. We have to be absolutely inclusive in everything we do. We want to start with Bangalore. We want Bangalore to be the model city that leads the way in changing the way we govern and the way we look at politics. We want, more and more citizens groups to be engaged with this system to see that we get people to
So
be
let me end by
accountable.
putting a poll to this audience. How many of you are committed to voting this time? Is there any hand that hasn't gone up? Because I'm seeing 90% hands go up. All right, now put these hands down. Who is not going to vote? You're not going to vote. Okay. Oh, because you don't live here. Okay. Then that's allowed. I think that's interesting that even if
There's
you can.
one lady there.
Is there anybody else who's not? Do you live here? Are you of voting age and you're not going to vote? Okay. I'm going to ask you why you are not going to vote.
Because I don't have a voting card.
You have a voting card. Okay, these are many of the comments that we hear are actually logistical issues. They're logistical issues. Those are easily resolved. But the point,
Not
so you think-
easily.
they're not.
Not easy, it's terrible.
It's been a challenge for all of us.
idea.
You have no idea how bad it is.
Yeah, okay. But Rohini,
We tried to correct my daughter's election details and we got one corrected, one extra one has been created. So it's not easy, believe me. It's not going to be easy.
Rajiv, yeah.
My call to every citizen of Bangalore, engage with the political class, give us ideas, time, energy, be involved. Money is just, if you can give all that,
Money is
don't
not needed
trash
at all.
politicians.
I don't trash politicians.
That's no good in a
Absolutely.
democracy.
And we
You don't go
want to
around
trash
trashing
them.
politicians.
We want to work
you
with them
work
and
with
build them into better leaders.
So I think what's interesting is that this is a process of engagement with politics.
Yes.
Quintessentially, a certain class of people in this country have always trashed politicians and the political process but never participated in it. We have to end it there. Thank you very much to this audience. Thank you very much to our panel. Hope to see you all going out and voting. Thank you very much.